Welcome, Alistair.
Hello.
Welcome to Between Two Beards.
Indeed, and there's nothing between us.
There's nothing between us. Yeah, perfect environment. So you've been you've been an ambassador. You've been involved for a lot longer, but you've been an ambassador with Manup now for just over 6 months.
Yeah, something like that, I think, yeah.
So it's been a bit of a journey. I'm guessing it's a slight shift and change from...
It's something that certainly I never expected. I arrived as needing to find something, needing to go somewhere where, that first sort of cult bar meeting, just going to a session, I didn't, a charity I'd heard about but didn't realise was just around the corner from me. And, I circled the building 4 or 5 times before I had the courage to go in, and it had taken kind of a week of setting myself up not to fail to get there. And I just wanted to, I don't know what I wanted. I think I felt I needed to do something at that point. It was kind of only, I don't know, not even 6 months in from sort of, when my life all fell apart, and I wanted to be accepted by a group, I suppose, find my tribe, which, and I think what I found was people that cared but didn't give a shit. That I didn't want people to be nice to me. Yeah. I didn't want too much compassion, because it would have sent me over the edge. And what I got was just a group of guys all having their own issues, and I don't want to use the word suffering, but all there for different reasons, but the same reason in a way.
Yeah.
And I didn't expect it to lead to anything other than I had a need, I guess, to tell my story to somebody, only because I wanted it to try and help people.
Yeah.
So I didn't, not that I felt I didn't want to put myself forward too much, but I also felt that, if I could stop somebody getting in the shit place that I'd got to, then surviving was worth it.
Yeah, I remember that night vividly. Like I do. It was a cold, I think it was a November or something like that. It was towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
At Cult Bar, like you said, and I remember because I was outside the front, because like for me, as much as I wanted to support it, it's an uncomfortable environment for me as well at that point as well, being like open and vulnerable in that space. And I remember when you arrived, because it was like, oh look, it's like looking into the future. I think it was, or something like that, because you came meandering out of the darkness. And I remember that night because you're the same person, but like I genuinely have seen you go on a journey from the outside to how you're involved now and what you do and how openly you speak. Because I remember the conversation we had where you had alluded to the book that you were writing, and it wasn't finished at that point.
No, it was. I did a lot of work to it in the first year, and then I put it down for a couple of years, and then I got a kick up the arse from somebody special to, where's my book? You need to finish it. But yeah, at the time, it was just pouring out of my hand as I was writing it. But I knew I wanted to write it. I never presumed I'd ever publish it, but the promise was to write it. So I was in that at that point at the Cult Bar. I was definitely just I couldn't stop telling people my story, which is a bit shit. They don't all want to hear it, but it was like I didn't have a filter.
Yeah.
I just had to. It was as if surviving, I needed to explain how and why I had, which I didn't understand.
Yeah.
And to put that to some purpose.
Yeah. No, it completely makes sense. Because I remember you opening up about that story and that situation, and it was from the other side, it was kind of difficult to kind of hear, because like we'd set the event up itself, like it has its own kind of meaning and purpose, but it was very much, it was an inaugural thing. Like we'd not tried or tested it. Yeah. We didn't know who was going to turn up and for what purpose. There wasn't really an agenda. It wasn't come and listen to professionals talk.
And that's probably why I went.
Yeah. And it became that environment and that safe space to like people to be a little bit kind of vulnerable about the situation. And that's probably one of the I don't want to call it a success, but like, yeah, if that was the starting point to your journey and your support and involvement and contribution to Manup, it was really nice to have actually witnessed and seen that evolution and that journey over the last 6 months.
I think I was scared I wouldn't fit in.
Yeah.
I think I've spent my whole life thinking I don't fit in.
Yeah.
And then to go somewhere where everybody fitted in and yet nobody fitted in. You
Yeah.
realise you're just the same as everybody else, and nobody actually gives a toss
Yeah.
about how you got here or the journey in life you've been on. And that was the great thing about Manup then, and why I kind of kept with it, is because I learned in that time I'm just a man. It doesn't matter that that I'm gay or that I committed suicide or tried very hard to. That doesn't matter. I'm not judged by those things. I'm actually just a bloke, and I'm just as I suffer from all the things that every man suffers from, probably.
Yeah, no, I can completely relate, because I've been going through some personal torment over the last few months myself, and also I'm actually looking at the charity and what we do in these conversations that we have through a slightly less misty lens, shall we say. And it's been an interesting catharsism for myself, because actually I've been more present to actually hear what people are saying. And I think there's a lot of empathy that comes from understanding other people have got such a spectrum and a range of things that they're struggling with, and realizing that everybody in the world really has got a lot of shit going on.
Absolutely, yeah.
And like you say, I think it's important that it's not necessarily you need people to understand, but like you do, when you're starting to reflect on things and why you've done things or your actions or your behaviors, like it's an important part of the process to actually firstly understand it internally, and then make sure that you can in fact articulate it, because it's all well and good up here, but our brains are our own worst enemy. So yeah. So I've not gotten round to reading the book yet, but Dan did send me a little excerpt of it, and
that kind of, there are a couple of chapters about having the courage to go to Manup, and that first meeting, which was nothing other than a social meeting, and the people I met there that day. The whole book's not about Manup.
No. Well, the title gives it, and we have to give the title a shout out. I'm sorry, but it is inspired, and it is so unapologetically you.
Well, it's called The Suicide Bummer, so it's kind of two things I'm good at, one probably better than the other. And I just thought it was funny that the whole concept of the book was it's very honest.
Yeah.
I don't worry what people are going to think about me, because I feel as if I'm past that now.
Yeah.
When you've put everyone you love through so much, then I promised I'd write it honestly. And it's designed to make you laugh. It's a roller coaster. I don't think life isn't a plateau of anyone's existence. So any story about anyone's life, I believe, should be that roller coaster of emotion. And if you don't laugh at the highs or laugh at the lows, because I think you can equally laugh at both of those in retrospect, I think the utter honesty, and when I talk to people about it, or talk to people about my life and what I've done to try and not put theirs into perspective, because it's not a scoring game of my life has been any better or worse than yours, but when you listen to people, I think realising that other people have struggles doesn't put your own into a perspective of point scoring of mine is better or worse, but just lets you know that everyone has those struggles. So the point of it is that laugh and cry with me rather than at me.
Yeah, it is a beautiful approach to it as well. And like, how has it been received? Like, obviously, you're selling it now as well. It's available where?
It's available at my own website, or just search for Suicide Bummer book or whatever. But I always feel, and I'm not here to sell it. That's not my link with the charity.
No, but it's. I think it's
I've
important.
kind of given it low-key grace. The people in my life who are going to read it in a very different way. My brothers, and the three good friends that I wrote goodbye letters to. I want them to have enough time to read it and digest it in a different way than the general public. So then my aim is, on the 4th anniversary of Jumping, is to kind of launch it to a wider world. It was very important to me as well that they get to read it as it came out of my hand. I can't type a book, I had to write it.
Yeah.
So I know it's going to need editing, and I know it needs some finesse, but I wanted them particularly, because it's written for them, to be able to read what I actually wrote rather than kind of tidied up version of it. So
Well, it doesn't need to be fully polished. And again, it's like
because life isn't, is it?
It's
the
not.
whole point.
It is the imperfections.
So it's, I think one I'm not asking anyone for quotes either, but a number have come back, and I think that the one that I like the most is, and this is from a girl, and I've known her practically all her life. She's probably in her sort of mid-30s now. She grew up knowing me, and she just wrote back, "You think you know someone, but then you realise you don't really know them at all, and actually just being kind, and listening to a story, or understanding that the person that you see is not necessarily the person that person is or sees themselves." So
yeah, completely.
So people have been very kind, and it's new and it's out there, so it was never written to be a commercial thing. It's written.
No, but like you
it's
say,
written as well, a bit like my involvement with Manup, that if it can help one person just have the courage to ask for help, the courage that I didn't have,
yeah,
then that's its purpose.
but that it exudes that, quite frankly, and I think it's so aligned with what we try to do here, which is that shared kind of view and perspective. Because, like you say, it's not providing answers.
No,
it's
because, and I think you can help people and you can talk to people, but those people have to be in the right mindset to want to accept that or ask for it. But I also think in life you can't tell people what to do, because everyone's circumstance is different, and how they will react and how they need to deal with things is not how you would do it.
no,
So you just have to be there for support,
yeah,
to give a perspective. I'm not going to say advice, but to give various perspectives of what might be going on, and let that person think it through. I think it's almost dangerous to say, well, this is how you're feeling, so therefore you must do that, and therefore this will happen, or don't feel like that because you shouldn't. That lots of people will say, I'm feeling really shit, and I think I'm a failure. To come back and say, oh no, everyone looks at you and thinks you're marvellous and you're not a failure, is of no help.
it doesn't,
Because it's how you adjust your own head.
That's the key thing, and I think that there's an element which is connected to vulnerability and also shame that we have as individuals, because of the disappointment you might have in yourself and your actions. Because, like you say, other people's opinions, we do take it to heart. We're human, but like you say, it doesn't change things. It can't necessarily directly influence it, and it doesn't help.
And I think what I've learned these past almost 4 years is to be happy to accept who I am, flaws and all, because I was always happy to accept everybody else with their flaws, but just never happy to accept myself.
I can relate. We all have our own demons.
And actually, it's not a magic wand waved that you don't think you've got them anymore. It's just having the tools to realise, to be able to put them into this perspective that you probably need to, and to realise that no one in this world really functions alone. We are an animal that needs contact, and various different types of people need different levels of contact and in different ways. I am never going to be the party animal that can take all those inputs at once. I'm definitely going to be more on the loner end of the scale. But actually, we can't survive in isolation and by ourselves. And to help see yourself as other people see you, or to realise that all those things you think are crap about yourself actually mean nothing, is kind of like the way that I now kind of, go through life. Because I feel that once you've done something so huge, you can't hide from it anymore. I can't brush all the things I did under the carpet. No. I don't think they're all great things to do. I'm not proud of them, but they happened, and I can't dwell on that.
But that's part of the journey, isn't
Absolutely,
it?
it's a journey.
There's wisdom in past lived experiences and history, and I think that's something that's as old as time and written word. So it's been a nice way to approach it. How has your journey or experience changed since being more involved as an ambassador? Because now you're very much present at things like Manup Mountain, and recently the suicide meets Manchester was recently as well.
I've done three or four of those during the season of them. The Manup Mountain has taught me, because I've been in an environment that I would have hidden from before, me and a load of straight blokes, has taught me definitely that I'm completely at ease and it's fine. But I think it's taught me, and I probably wittered on about this before, that coming from a person that's only ever had male-male relationships, the difference between a male-female relationship, what strikes me about that is so many men have sought permission to go on these man-up mountain things because they don't like to put themselves first. They don't like to give themselves that time to do something for themselves, which I think will then make them a better spouse, father, whatever, when they go back. But they've sought that permission from their relationship for time, just for 2 nights away to go, which was something I wouldn't ever have comprehended before that, because I think 2 blokes in a relationship, you just say what you're going to do.
Yeah, well, it's wired completely differently, and I'm certainly no expert.
I've learnt that, and I've always, thought that at certain times that women need the company of women and men need the company of men, because it puts you into, you've already got rid of a whole lots of complexity and questions and behaviour of one-upmanship and how you should perceive to behave when you're in that environment. So that sort of ditches all this pretense that you don't need. So I think that's a great thing about the man-up mountain thing is, you know that judgment of your other halves and whatever isn't going to be there. And I've seen, a couple of guys that have come to more than one. Just the difference in sort of 6 months or a year of, giving themselves that permission has just made them, they've come back and said, it's made me, a better person. It's just given me some time, again, to realise that this shit I'm going through is, my God, his shit was worse. It isn't really, but it's just different.
Yeah.
And the suicide, when we Man Up and Dr. Susie Bennett share the research on why so many men commit suicide and it's been that way since, I can't remember the dates, 1881 or whenever the first research was. The room are usually full of professionals, Samaritans, various bits of the NHS, people that help chaps with their mental health. It's a long thing, we start at 10 in the morning and finish at sort of 5 at night, and it's great to see that most people stay for the duration of that. It's also great to see that there are so many different, I don't want to say professional organisations, but the organisations like Man Up, the organisations that were started by one chap who wanted to make a difference. That kind of the way that they have done that is just great, and it's also great to hear from so many professionals. Well, it's not great in a way that this is the first time they've had an opportunity to go anywhere that only talks about or talks about men. That's what's lacking, and it's lacking in their toolbox of things to promote and do, because so little, even though 76 or whatever it is % of suicides are male, and it kills more under 50 men than any other thing, that you would it surprised me that this is the only time in their professional career they've been to a resource that only talks about that. I guess what I've learnt is a lot of more medically professional organisations, whether that be, I'm going to include the Samaritans and various chunks of the NHS, don't yet realise that one approach doesn't fit everybody, that men communicate in a different way, and you've got to, or it will help your cause, I feel. If you want to engage with men, then you do it in a way when men don't know it's happening. If you're going to take a chap, and obviously there's a time and a place for this as well, but if you're going to take the average chap who's mediumly struggling level to a room with a low table and a box of tissues, he's not going to tell you anything. But if you go and help build a shed or a village hall, or do something, or go hiking or whatever, give him a purpose where he doesn't know that engagement with other men or a professional is happening, then he will start to talk. Or it's when you're all sitting down knackered at the end of the day having a pizza or a bag of chips. That's actually when that talking happens. But to say, so many professionals think it's the same for everybody, that, you know, like I say, just taking you to a room and saying, right, this is therapy, now you need to have therapy, is not going to work for the majority of men who are just at that point of pre or post an event in their life. They would actually, which is why I went to the Manup thing, you know, there's a lot of blokes that would actually just kind of have that masculine thwack on the back, whether it's real or just emotional, and go, hello mate, you've been a bit of a twat, haven't you? What's the matter? Just, you know, that isn't really what. Just tell us what's the matter. You know, you're out of sorts. It's that.
Well, therapy comes in different forms, doesn't it? Different environments.
And I think that there's so many people coming to these events that probably just need that twist. To think about it in a different way.
It's the mindset and the lens on it.
And obviously these environments of building a shed or a village hall or helping some old people out going hiking aren't what you can get in an NHS or you know, a meeting room or a surgery, but actually the groups of other charities and other organisations, of which, you know, we always put 2 or 3 into every one of these sort of more locally sourced. Just what they do is amazing. And they've made so much difference that's almost unquantifiable at the point, but hopefully goes on to lessen the statistics of so many men struggling and not being able to talk, because actually you've given them an outlet, like I say, where you didn't include the word therapy in any kind of title. And actually, they've, you know, well, I met Bert when we plastered, you know, we put some plasterboard up for this Cub Scout group or whatever. And actually, I go down the pub with him now, and I can just have that conversation. I think as well, and this was in Wales, that, and it's not just applicable to Wales, but possibly more applicable to mining, to steelworks, to big industry, but as well, I think, to farming. So, you know, here we are in a very, you know, rural area. But those ways you earned a living, where you went into what were your grandfather or your uncle or your father would have told you were very male-dominated spheres, and you could rant and rave and tell them that your wife was a whatever. And you didn't really mean it as it would be heard by other people, but it got that processing out, that those environments have kind of gone, and lots of guys don't know where to go to get that, because they're worried how they communicate and the language they use would be perceived in the wrong way, when it isn't meant for that. It's just a vent. And then they go back home at the end of the working day more chilled, because they've got that stuff out of their system. And, you know, how you would communicate with your fellow miners down in the mine is not now in the way you go to work now, how you can behave in the tea room of Tesco. So I think that has told me, and I learned that at the Wales one, listening to people, that these sort of male-only spaces where you know you're not going to be judged as people will perceive you're saying it, are very important, because that, you know, to get, you don't take all of it home. Then you've processed it out, haven't you? You know, whether that be at the rugby club or the pub or playing darts or whatever. That actually, men need men, women, but that also means women need women. You know, just the way you behave de-stresses you.
There's a lot of value in trying to empathise and understand how the other sex, for example, are wired as well. I think communication is... that's
what it comes down to, communication, but also realising that communication needs to happen in different ways for different people.
It does, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't work, because it takes a moment of realisation to realise that, like, your own way of communicating is not been right. You know, or not had any level of empathy. And I think, like, I see that a lot, and to your point about these spaces, and that's what we do with Manup, is because there's no one right answer.
Of course not.
It's having so many different potential forums and places where people can feel safe to be vulnerable.
And that's not just for each type of man, but I think that's also for different points in their life or what they're going through. These things change. Everything is fluid.
Yeah, completely. Okay, so the next thing you've got coming up actually is you're doing one of the Manup talks in this year.
I think I'm doing a Thursday soon of one of the Manup Thursday sort of no particular topic sessions.
Is this your first one that you've done?
That'll be my first one of those. Yeah.
Have you been on any of the others?
Only briefly, so I'm going to have to do some research on that one. What
are your expectations, or what are you hoping to kind of bring to that?
I'm not going to use the word be a facilitator because I hate it.
Yeah.
But just be in the background and maybe a steer and just, chivvy people along if I feel that they want to be chivied slightly. I guess it's a suck it and see kind of, see how it goes. Because it's also a fairly new concept for Manup. I think when I do my one, there's only one has gone before. So it's also a learning curve for the charity to see whether this is something we can sustain, whether it's something we feel is of use, and whether, especially as we're doing it around, as you can see, possibly from the background, Christmas and New Year.
Yeah.
In one way that people are taken away from engaging because, lots of things happen. There's family and kids and Christmas and all of that. So to some chaps, that's a great thing, but to others, it's a very negative thing.
It can be scary
because life has meant they can't do what they think they want to do at Christmas, so we'll just see how it goes. But I think the charity felt that we didn't want to have a gap of nothing happening. So we'll see how it goes and see how I'm judged afterwards.
I don't think there'll be any judgment though, because that's the forum that is created. Is people are going in there, like when you first came to Cult when it was open. It's being comfortable entering an environment that is almost unfamiliar. You don't know the people there, and it is the hope that you won't be judged for.
In a way, it's just a word in your shell, like, isn't it? Just to give yourself permission. I think the person in charge of the group is giving everybody in the group permission to be there. And actually, you might think you're there as an outsider and hope you can hide behind a pillar or whatever. But actually, everyone's doing that. So
on that note, then, when are you next taking a bunch of men up a mountain?
April.
That's the next Manup mountain.
Manup mountain. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. I think they might see my. In a past life, I'm used to huge groups of people and managing great things. So not great things, but great acres and acres of space and stuff. So I'm not. I think I know it'll be fine. And I. At times it will be like herding cats. But in a way, that's exactly what it should be. That people have got the permission to work out who they are, to be themselves. It's great to say just be yourself, but so many people don't know how to be themselves, or feel that the themselves that they are is not what anybody else wants to see. So the whole point of those is actually
change the environment, try and change the mindset.
Just don't worry about it.
Yeah.
No one here is judging you. I honestly think that certainly from my life experiences, that the biggest judgment comes from yourself and not other people.